What's up, guys? It's Benny. Just when you think the case of the No Kings killer in Minneapolis, Minnesota couldn't get any stranger or twisted or more dark, it just took a horrifying new turn. If you get the suspicion that there's some type of high-level cover-up going on here, you're right. Something is not right in Minnesota. Horror in the heartland, as Vance Belter here was allowed to go into the house of Representative Melissa Hortman. She's the Speaker of the House. She's a Democrat. He was allowed to go into her house and kill her. Cops were there. We have all of the evidence. The police tell us that the cops engaged him and they let him go into her house and then commit the murders and then escape. This is all according to the official police record. It's really strange. Then this man, who is out of shape and overweight and doesn't look like he could do a flight of stairs without getting winded, was able to evade special forces here. I mean, you could see the people who's arrested him, finally, after a 3-day manhunt. He evaded them for 3 days after escaping the police and nimbly, moving all throughout the state. They found him in a field. Apparently, this cold-blooded killer was on his knees in a fetal position, crying and surrendering. What else do we know about Vance? What's his motive exactly? What the hell's wrong with you? He's a dad of 5 children. He's married. His wife was caught with a car full of passports, firearms, and ammunition, and $50,000 cash. She was running across the state. Authorities didn't detain her. That's insane. Vance Belter here worked with Governor Walz. What do we mean by that? Well, we have the paperwork. We have the documents. Governor Walz signed his paperwork appointing Vance Belter to one of the governor's boards for small businesses. What did he do for a living? Well, we know that he plucked out eyeballs. Oh, yeah. No joke. This was his day job or night job. Minnesota assassin Vance Belter extracted eyeballs from corpses for a living. In fact, he was doing that right before the double murder. Huh? Before that, he was a manager at a 7-Eleven. We kid you not. He was also running a shady NGO that brought African migrants to the state of Minnesota. Not exactly MAGA material there. His wife had worked for Tim Walz in Washington, D.C. when he was a congressman. They're trying to paint this guy as the MAGA killer. No. Let me tell you, I know MAGA, we don't run migrant resettlement programs to the heartland and work for Democrats, especially the Democrats that run with Kamala Harris. So none of it makes sense. It's all very strange. And it's triggering my radar for something being extremely off here. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we get this. Break-in reported at the home of assassinated Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman, days after double murder. Would you look at that? So this is Melissa Hortman. Of course, we disavow all political violence. We think this is obscene and horrible and doesn't really matter. The political background of Vance Belter, we disavow all of it. It does matter, okay? But what I'm saying is, no matter what, violence is hard-coded and deep in the bones on the left. This is another reason why we know he's not MAGA, because MAGA people don't do this. The Brooklyn home, this is Brooklyn, Minnesota, home of murdered Minnesota Rep Melissa Hortman and her husband, was just broken into on Tuesday night. The house is, of course, an active crime scene. It had been boarded up since the grisly double murder at the hands of the political assassin. Former Minnesota Speaker of the House and her husband were gunned down. It's awful. The home was once again processed by crime scene investigators for evidence of the burglary. The home appeared to have been searched by an unknown individual. The family has indicated that they don't believe anything is missing. This is the house, and somebody smashed the window and went and broke into their home and fleeced the place. The home has been searched by an unknown individual. What the hell is going on here? Is there some kind of horrible cover-up happening? A break-in was reported at Melissa Hortman's home. Is there no, what the hell is going on in Minnesota? Burglar hits Melissa Hortman's home. You can't make this up. Somebody broke in days after her and her husband were assassinated. The scene was boarded up, secured, and under investigation, yet somebody was able to pry it open and went inside. They didn't rob it, they just searched it. So, okay, like let's go with this is just some dumbass, youth, right? Some criminal youth that broke in. You can see here they shattered a window, what looks like a basement window there. So let's say that this was just a youth looking for a quick TV, right? Quick television or whatever, some jewelry. You would assume that they'd take the damn TV and the jewelry because clearly nobody was watching the house. This window would be on this side of the house. Here's the cop car, smashing it, breaking it. This would be something that would make a loud noise. You'd be seen, but they didn't take anything. So what the hell was this about? This was a cleanup operation. Goodness gracious, is what people are saying. I mean, prove us wrong. Just days after being assassinated by Vance Belcher, the home of Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman has been broken into and burglarized. But it hasn't been burglarized, not suspicious at all. It was just somebody just went there to what? Look around? There's something truly bizarre about this Minnesota Democrat shootings. The cops aren't supposed to show up while the assassin was at Melissa Hortman's home. It made the shooter rush out, and now it seems like they're cleaning up the crime scene to frame it as something different. It's very, very bizarre. What the hell is going on? It's burgled, but it's a burglary that doesn't take anything? The official report says that nothing was taken from the home. Brooklyn Park Police confirmed somebody broke in to the home overnight. Like, you don't have an officer stationed there? This is a massive crime scene and has made international news because of the horrors of it all. The break-in happened overnight. Authorities weren't alerted to the incident until around 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. The Brooklyn Police Department, the windows of the home were boarded up with plywood after the investigators had processed the scene for evidence. One of those boards in the back of the house had been pried off and the window was broken. You can't, could you put up one of those little police monitor things? All these, these cops have these little monitor stations with the cameras. You couldn't put that up here to just make sure that nobody's breaking in? Even if you don't have the manpower to station a cop outside of it, which you should, you can't just put up some cameras to ensure that somebody doesn't smash in. Police say the house appeared to have been searched, but family members had removed items of value prior to the burglary. So nothing was missing. The burglary is under investigation. Neighbors are asked to check their cameras, because we don't fund police force here. The whole actions of the police force here has been utterly unbelievable. Look at this. They pried the plywood off. Nothing was taken, though. The house was just searched. Well, why would a kindly burglar just search the house? Just to make sure that nobody was there? Is that what was going on? Oh, it looks like the window is at the back of the house. It is a basement window or a sub-basement. It looks like it's a back of the house window. So was it just your friendly neighborhood burglar who's just trying to check in on things, make sure that the pillows are arranged correctly, make sure there's charcoals for the stove here? I'm not trying to be glib. It's just obnoxious, truly obnoxious. Ladies and gentlemen, we went thermonuclear viral this week by asking a simple question, which is, why the hell did they let this happen? Nearly 70,000 likes and 24,000 reposts with us explaining, and with the clip, okay, it's not us explaining. Here, listen to the lead investigator explain that the Minnesota police just stood by and watched Vance Belcher murder Representative Hortman in her home. Minnesota law enforcement officials reported that 2 Minnesota police officers were already on the scene watching before killer Vance Belcher stepped inside Representative Hortman's house. They saw the killer in the driveway wearing his Halloween mask and fake police uniform. They engaged him. There was a short firefight, and then they just didn't pursue him. They watched, according to the official, and I will play you the clip right now, they watched as Belcher entered the home, killed the representative and her husband, and then let the police let him escape out the back. All of this after a Minnesota state senator had already been gunned down. The police didn't stop him. It's obscene. Again, the police stood by and let Belcher commit the murders and escape. Nothing makes sense. This is dark and disturbing. Goodness gracious. Okay. Here's the clip, ladies and gentlemen. I'm under the impression that, like, you shouldn't let the murderer commit the murders, but I'm not a cop. So let me know in the comments if I'm off base here. But I'm not off base in saying that an active crime scene, and probably one of the most notable crime scene in the country right now, should be more secure than just letting somebody break in and case the place, no matter who that person was. But sure as hell seems to be pointing to some type of cleanup operation or cover-up. Why else would that be allowed to happen? Anyway, here's the clip that gets me so angry.
Belter then traveled to Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, in the home of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman. At approximately 3:30 a.m., Belter arrived at Representative Hortman's house in his black SUV with the police license plates. He parked in the driveway and left the emergency lights on his SUV flashing, as if he was a police officer. Belter approached Representative Hortman's home, again dressed as a police officer, wearing the tactical vest and body armor, and wearing that hyper-realistic mask. He was armed and carrying a flashlight. Before he entered the home, 2 Brooklyn Park police officers arrived at the scene. They too had been dispatched to check on Representative Hortman after learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman. When they arrived at the scene, they saw Belter's black SUV parked in the driveway with the emergency lights flashing, and they saw Belter standing in front of the house several feet from the door. When Belter saw the officers get out of the car, he drew his weapon and began firing. He rushed into the house through the front door, firing into it. He repeatedly fired into the house, and when he entered, he murdered Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark. The Brooklyn Park police officers fired at Belter as he rushed into the home, but he escaped into the home and out the back. Officers recovered Belter's 9mm Beretta, along with the body armor and the mask, behind the home along his path of flight when he fled on foot. They later searched Belter's car, where they found 5 more firearms, including assault-style rifles and a large quantity of ammunition. Belter also had in his car notebooks containing a list of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal elected officials, including Representative Hortman. Now, Belter planned his attack carefully. He researched his victims and their families. He used the internet and other tools to find their addresses and names, the names of their family members. He conducted surveillance of their homes and took notes about the location of their homes. He also prepared in other ways. He concealed himself as a police officer, outfitting his black SUV with police lights and a police license plate, wearing a black tactical vest and body armor, carrying a police flashlight and a handgun. And of course he wore that hyper-realistic silicone mask as seen on the surveillance videos. The video of his arrival and shooting of Senator Hoffman is truly chilling. Again, it's no exaggeration to say this is the stuff of nightmares.